Okay, so this is quite exciting. I have a lovely guest today who I met last year, just before lockdown, at the
Yeah,
ELT Island Conference, wasn't it, Laia? Laia del
yeah,
Barrio. Please
yeah.
excuse my pronunciation. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Yes, that's it. We met last year at the conference. Yes, yes, yes.
Did you have a good day? Did you get a good response?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was really nice at the conference. If you mean that, it was really nice. Yeah, people did ask a couple of questions, and yeah, it
Brilliant.
was, I think, brilliant to bring it to an audience and to teachers who felt inspired, probably to do something in their classes too.
Yeah, so I should probably tell everyone what we're talking about. Laia did a lovely presentation on bringing mindfulness into the classroom using a variety of activities, and it was just so nice. So I got her details because I thought I'm going to record with this woman at some point, and here we are. So what we're going to do today, guys, is if you're just listening, it might be worth going on to IGTV or to YouTube, because Laia will be using her slideshow and it will make a lot more sense without it, just to warn you. So let's start with just a brief overview of who you are, Laia. Tell us something about yourself.
Thank you, thank you. Well, yeah, I've actually been teaching not for too long, only since 2016, and yeah, actually my background career is in hospitality and hotel management, but then I was like, no, that's not for me, and I just kind of got the idea to just become an English teacher. Why not? Because I really did want to give something back to society, and I thought that would be yeah, a great idea to do. Because myself, uh, I lived in Ireland before I came as an English student, so I know how difficult it can be to be in Ireland as a student, and I think it would be a good way to just, to show some sort of empathy to students and help them through it, yeah, through their time here, I guess.
That's
Yeah.
lovely. And I think empathy here is a key word, because it's very easy to sort of get wrapped up in your lesson plan and timing, and you kind of forget, there's a student at the other end of it. Maybe they've got learning barriers themselves. Maybe they've never been to an English class before. They've never been abroad before. They're bringing all these kind of learning blocks, shall we call them, with them.
Mhm.
And you sound like you're approaching it from the right way. So that's really nice to hear. So what is your definition of mindfulness, just for you?
Yeah. Well, for me, mindfulness is just being present, I guess, being here and being now, and just realizing all the great things that we have, and that everything that happens, I guess, in our lives is for a certain learning, and yeah, and just reflect on it as well. I guess that's a good way to, yeah, to be present, and not to maybe go down into a deep end, going, why is this happening to me? So I guess that mindfulness would be that, just being present, realizing why we're here and what my purpose in life is as well, which can always be difficult, but yeah, I mixed a little bit here, but that's what I would think of this.
That's lovely. And again, more keywords: learn, reflect, for like the individual and for the student as well in the classroom context. Brilliant.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
So you've probably half answered this question already, but why is it important to you to include this kind of mindfulness in your classroom practice?
Yeah, actually, Erin, I think it's always important to do it somehow, like in class or outside class. And I think especially like when students come to Ireland and it's their first time here, as you were mentioning before, they come with a lot of difficulties at times, and they encounter really loads of barriers here too, and sometimes they can get really depressed, and I think that when you do these type of activities, students really kind of, they're grateful for it. I mean, they're really thankful for it, and it's a way for them to kind of relax a little bit and realize that this is not only to them that this is happening, it's also to other people that are struggling and they're going through stuff. And then it's a way to open up discussion and to open up the classroom, and also to create another type of energy. because classrooms can be sometimes, come on, go do this, go do that, come on. But when you open up to this kind of activities, students really do open up, and you can feel that there's a need for it. Yeah, I think that's why, and just to help students go through this process here.
And I can imagine as well that these kinds of activities might not feel like learning per se. So again, I think that's a great advantage as well. Lovely. So how often do you try to incorporate it into your classes, or is it just kind of the fabric of your methodology, shall we say?
I don't have a time, let's say, okay, week 2, I'm going to do this. Week 3, I don't do it. I just have a feel of the classroom. I have a feel of the people who are there, and depending on, on how they open up or how they develop the topics that are coming up, then one day I just kind of go, bling, I think we can do this today. Because of course you cannot do this in week 1 when they don't know each other. You would do this maybe after 3 weeks, 4 weeks, when there's a certain, energy going on. So yeah, it depends. Like, actually, was it last Thursday? I did one, and I did it with pre-intermediate, which was the first time that I actually did something like that with pre-intermediates, because I would usually do it with higher levels, but it worked out really well too. So yeah, I'm very happy this was there. Yes.
Can you tell us what you
So
did?
yes. Yes, of course. I can actually go into, if you want to, I can start and tell you a little bit what, because it was the first activity that I actually presented at the conference.
Okay.
And so I can go through it. I can tell you a little bit. I did this one. I did the one about gratefulness, right? And here, so mainly what you do is that you just write some topics. I had Ireland, work, nature, home, things and body. And then you ask, I ask students to write, actually ask them to write 2 words under each category, and just give them a couple of minutes. And after that, I ask them, okay, please tell me what you wrote. Chose a couple of people, and then I wrote it down. And so we went over it, and this and that. And then at the end, my question to them, or my statement to them was like, okay, if you have written this down, there's a certain importance for you to, just with regards to these things. So then I always ask them, so how often are you grateful for these things in your life? And so then it opens up a little bit of discussion of what do you do when you feel down? Is this something special that you're doing nowadays, or that you did? I don't know, some people pray, some people meditate, others just do yoga. Actually had a student on Friday who said, who had a journal. She said, I'm going to start actually a journal tomorrow about a gratefulness journal. So it opens up these things to discussion. And so that's what we did. We did this. We started. It is actually a great warmer as well, and also a great way to introduce. It's a great way to introduce the verb patterns as well. No, I'm grateful for. After preposition, what do you put? I put ing. So it's a great way to introduce that too. So, and with this activity, there's just one thing that comes with, and it's just a gratefulness list that I use. It's from tinybuddha.com, that is called 60 Things to Be Grateful For in Life. And then I gave it to them, and that was online. So I sent it to them actually, and they just had to choose 10 things that they would value the most in that list. Yes.
And then
that's what
what they put it on the wall on A3 paper. They choose from the list. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So that you do it when it's a face-to-face class, no, because everything is online. So we just kind of said it out loud. Okay, what have you chosen? I've chosen this. What have you chosen? I've chosen that. And you can even put them in pairs and breakout rooms and ask them to talk about it as well. So but if I were in an actual class, a physical class, I would have an A3 paper and make them write down what they are grateful for. And so once a week or a fortnight or every day when they come to class, write something: nature, my lungs, legs, for being able to see whatever it is. So it's there in class.
Okay, and would you keep that list and add to it, or would you start new lists every week?
No, I would keep it. I would keep it
Yeah.
and add to it. I mean, of course, not everyone does it. I would just say, yes, please, yes, please. If you could just write something there, they would go and write it down. And it depends on which week I actually do this.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a little bit, you just have to see how it goes. Yeah.
Lovely. What a very simple, sweet activity. Very nice. Okay.
Definitely.
Number 2. I'm
So
excited.
number 2, here it comes. So number 2 is positive quotes. Actually, in that same website, on that same website, you find loads of positive quotes, and this can also be like a warmer activity. And so you just choose quotes, and I chose some here. Before you speak, let your words pass through. 3 gates. Is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? This would be an example. There's more. So everything that happens to you is your teacher and all that. So what I would do is I would just choose maybe, it depends on the number of students that you have. Maybe you can choose 5 of them. And then next to those quotes, you would ask some questions that you would have already thought about. Because sometimes if you leave just this quote of before you speak, let your words pass through 3 gates, if students don't have like maybe imagination or they don't feel like sharing much, they just say, oh yes, that's right. And that's it. So what you want them to do is to speak a little bit. So yeah, some questions. Okay, I put here a couple of questions like, do you pass through these 3 gates before you speak? Why do you think it is important to do so? Do you think our words can cause harm? In what way? So you think about your own questions, and this is just an idea. And then you do the same for each quote. Yeah. And then after that, with the quotes, if you're in a physical class, I would usually or put it on the walls or just pass the papers around and give them about 4 or 5 minutes. After 4 or 5 minutes, change. And they change the quotes and they talk to their partner. Groups of 3 usually, because it's better, because there's more conversation going on. And yeah, and that's it. This would be it with positive quotes. One thing that you can do is you can create a writing as well out of one of them, which I chose one here that I really liked. And you can choose one that you believe has a certain meaning. And then again, you will ask certain questions and then they would write about it. It depends on their level, of course. A pre-intermediate, I would not give them a super long text, and I don't think I would specifically do a writing about these things in pre-intermediate, but intermediate plus upper intermediate, they can start doing this kind of writings because they are deeper than what they usually write. Like write an email to, so you write about your feelings a bit more. Yeah,
It's definitely more beneficial in a way. And I mean, you know, the internet being what it is, I think you'll always find a meme or a quote to suit most levels. I
yeah.
think so. In terms of resources, it's all out there. You just got to have a little bit of patience and sift through a few. But great, again, very accessible.
Yeah, indeed,
I think,
indeed. And there's loads of quotes all over internet. I use tinybuddha.com because it's there and it's easy, but there's
yeah.
loads of other websites. Good. My number 3 is my motivational boards. So with this one, actually, these are pictures that I did with my students. And yeah, the only thing that you do and that you need is just whatever papers, pens, colored paper, and so on, scissors. And then this is actually to be displayed if you want to in the same classroom on the wall, or if you have a canteen in the school, you can put it there. And it's about that. They can write any kind of quotes, any kind of words. They can create some sort of shapes, and it's their activity. And so this activity, actually, I had planned it for an hour and a half, but it lasted 3 hours.
And
It
what did
lasted like a
they,
full. Mm,
sorry,
Sorry.
what did they actually put on the board? What kinds of things did they put?
On the board, I don't think you can see it here. So it depends. I mean, some people, they were saying, yeah, life is beautiful, always smile, or things like that. Some people, they would just feel inspired, and others would actually go online and have a look and just copy them. It really did depend, or just love, positiveness, whatever it is that they felt, they wanted to say. So yeah, again, it's motivational words. So that means that the students are going to motivate other students in terms like when they feel down or something. So they would look at this board and then they would kind of go, oh yeah, look, oh beautiful. Oh yes, it's nice.
Lovely. And what sort of instructions did you give for this, or are there any rules they have to go by?
Not really. I just brought the color paper, the pens, pencils, and so on, the scissors, and then I just told them, okay, you're going to do a motivational board, and just usually I would not do this as a first activity, like of the mindfulness activities. It would be maybe that third, fourth activity or something, because they are already in that kind of rhythm.
Yeah.
And then I just would ask them this, just how would you motivate your colleagues? How would you motivate your friends? So this is a motivational board. Feel free to, just to do that. Feel free to look online. Feel free to write whatever you want to, any things that work for you, whatever it is. And then I leave it there for them.
Yeah.
I would usually put some music, like some relaxing music over or whatever it is. And that's it. I would not get involved. I did say, don't get involved. It's their project. If they ask you, how do you say this? How do you spell that? Of course, you're there. And sometimes they will ask, oh, could you please just write something yourself too? You do, of course. And then you write it and you contribute. But if not, it's their project. Yeah.
And in terms of like language production, is there a lot there, or is it more of a just sort of a motivational project? Because I imagine it might go a bit quiet sometimes.
Yeah, but it's okay. It's not. I think this is more about maybe just going inwards and just trying to feel and what is it that I want to give here in Ireland right now. So you can, of course, teach some grammar if you want to beforehand, or even some vocabulary. You can bring some vocabulary that you've done, things about feelings if you want to. It depends on you. It depends on how you want to treat this activity. Personally, I just treated it as, let's create a motivational board. So it just took that. It actually took the full day, because we had already done like the end of the course exam. We had done it the previous day, and then we had a full day to do whatever it is that they wanted to do. So instead of going to a pub or something, I said, no, we're going to do this. So we did it, and yeah, it was lovely. It was really, really a lovely activity. Yeah.
Sounds like it. Fantastic.
Mhm.
Okay, let's go to number 4. I'm excited.
Wonderful. Number 4, CIA. It's not CIA as in spying or anything. This actually comes from coaching, because I did do a course. I took a course in executive coaching and life coaching. And this is one of the techniques that we used there. So this one, I hope I can explain it properly, because how I would begin, it's about having a problem with someone. So that's it. You have to imagine, if you have a problem maybe at work with someone that is always in a bad mood, someone who never smiles and comes to the teacher's room and it's always, that's it. She or he is always in a bad mood, and that really affects you. So you explain, what I do, I explain the situation to my students, and I tell them, okay, so what is it that I can control from the situation? What things can I control? So then they would start saying, you control whatever, your reaction, you can control how you talk to your colleague, you can control whatever it is. What can I control? And then I write it down on the board. And so I tell them, okay, now think about a problem that you have with someone and talk about it with the person next to you. So then they would start talking. I give them just a few minutes, maybe 5 minutes, not too long. And then I tell them, okay, now what is it that you can control about the situation? And then they write it down, their own problem.
Mm-hmm.
After that, I would say, okay, let's go back, say, how can I influence this situation? How can I influence? What is it that I can do? And then they will start saying, oh, you can do this, you can do that. Maybe you can smile at the person, maybe you can, whatever it is. And then at the end, I will say, okay, what things do I just have to accept myself? So I'm talking about my problem. And then they will say, oh, you have to accept that everyone is different. You have to accept that everyone can have a bad day, that maybe whatever it is. And so at the end, I say, okay, so now I would like you individually to do the same. What is it that you can influence about this problem? And what things do you have to accept? Now, you can do it just going one by one as in control. Okay, what can you control? And they write it down. Then influence. What can you influence? And they write it down. So go step by step or just give it to them, whatever you want. And it really is a lovely activity because it is a lot of reflection and you have to feel comfortable as well to answer certain questions from students. Yeah. And at the
Yeah.
end, what I ask them is, okay, now write down, next time I'm encountered with a situation, what am I going to do?
It's
And
brilliant.
they write.
It's just there's so much there. It's like it's a life lesson. There's
Mm,
critical thinking, which is absolutely essential. It's very apt for this time as well. Not even
that-
not just for language schools, any school. If any teacher's listening to this who's just works in any kind of school, this is a brilliant activity to do yourself. Because I know that a lot of teachers are under a lot of stress um,
Mm,
with the online teaching and the lack of organization and all of that. And then of course, you know, you're going into students who are very confused and who are in, you know, have got a lot of issues going on. So this is a brilliant one for that. Brilliant.
definitely.
I remember sitting there doing this when in your presentation, and I was like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah, I made you all do it. Yeah, I did.
fantastic.
Lovely. Cool. And the
Okay.
last one,
Yep.
well, sorry, with the CIA, and
Mhm.
that's it. This here are a little bit instructions, and yeah, that's it. You share and all that. Sorry. Good. So with the last one, it's called renewing your intentions. With renewing your intentions, it's about creating certain questions. So you create questions for the students to reflect on why they are here. Why did they come to Ireland? Because especially when students are in higher levels, they've been here for a year or more, they get a little bit kind of, they're kind of tired of going to
Yeah.
classes. They don't really know. And so this is what you put this on the board or you can put it on pieces of paper, it doesn't matter. And you write questions such as, how did you feel when you decided to come here? What expectations did you have? Were they met? What objectives did you have? Have you achieved them? Things like that. If you haven't achieved them, what you still need to do to achieve them. Yeah. A sentence to help you through the day, 5 things you're grateful for. And of course, they've already done the grateful activity. So they know what this is about.
Yeah.
Yeah. 3 things that you like about Ireland, things you have learned here, 2 difficult things you have gone through in Ireland. How did you overcome them?
Good.
These are just some questions. You can create whatever you want to. And so what do? You give them the questions, put them in groups of 2 or 3, usually 3. I prefer always 3. And then they talk. They talk. And then a good activity, to do this activity, I think it's also, you can choose a day in which you are doing maybe a speaking test. So you have the rest of the class occupied talking about this, and then you can bring one of the students and then you can speak and no one else hears it because they are engaged with this activity.
Yeah.
So this, I used it in a couple of occasions, yeah, as that. And of course you give them time, and when they have finished, when they finished, and yeah, I think one important thing as well about this is that people cry. Okay, so you don't have to
Oh,
feel bad about it. It's true. People cry, they feel sad, and you can see it. So you don't really get involved. I mean, it's okay. You can walk around a little bit, but don't just be there listening.
yeah.
And I know it sounds a bit like, but how are you going to correct them? But
It's
this is
not
not
about that.
really,
It's not
no,
about that.
it's not
No.
about that. I would just walk around because sometimes you walk around and then they stop talking. And then you're like, okay, fine, I understand. So yeah, it's just about this. It's about them sharing and that. So what I do, yes, that's it. You renew your intention, and afterwards, I think that you can do that. I've done as well. You write. They write a letter, and they write a letter to themselves. Now you can do it. They write a letter to themselves, or if you really want to know how they write, you can tell them, write a letter to yourself, but I will read it and I will correct it. I don't think I've ever done that, to be honest, because I always use it as this, like when they're doing like a speaking test. And the idea is that when they write it, they write the letter to themselves. It's answering the previous questions, all the questions that they have been talking about. They're going to write about it. Now for this, I choose a nice paper, or you create it, a lovely envelope, and then you give them time. You give them time to write it, and I put singing birds. I love birds because they're very nice. Put the singing birds, and yeah, and it's lovely, and they really like it. Some people, I would say 98% of the students do it. Maybe there's 2% who don't want to write it down, but
There's
they still have
always that
paper.
2%.
That's okay. But sometimes they just start drawing something and they just listen to the birds or whatever song you're putting there. Because of course they're not going. I don't let them use the phone in class, so they cannot look, like look into their phone. They cannot speak to anyone else. So they're doing their own reflection, and
Yeah,
that's okay too. You cannot oblige them. So
little
yeah,
meditation. Yeah,
yeah,
that's nice.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go to your happy place. Yeah, that's great. Now if you're not
Mm,
watching this, if you're just listening, there were 9 questions that Laia had up there. So I mean, if you've got even intermediate classes, that can take a lot of time. So like
mm,
you say, it's perfect for that. If you're
mm,
doing the speaking test, and then also they're warmed up for the speaking test as well. They've been
mm,
talking,
mm,
so it's
mm.
not as nerve-wracking for them. And also with just letting them you know, make their mistakes, or not sort of hovering over them. Again, I think with things like that, with error correction, and you have to pick your moments, don't you? And this is an activity
Exactly.
that has nothing to do with you know, trying to get them to speak correctly. This is just about pure self-expression,
Mm,
you know. Lovely.
definitely. That's
Very
yeah.
nice. Lovely.
That's
um yeah, that's great. I'm sure you've got a million other activities, but we're gonna have to wrap it up for the moment. But
that's good. No problem.
I would like to ask you though, how important is mindfulness to you personally, and how do you practice it?
Mm. It is very important, and it is easier to practice it when you're like in high spirits than when you're
Yeah,
alone. That's for sure. And I try to do a little something every day and to reflect on every day, just to do a little meditation, or do. I practice Ho'oponopono, which is a technique from Hawaii, and I do this as well every day. And it is very important, and always try to be conscious that everything that happens is not to you. It's not because of you. It's just life happens, and you're just there. And yeah. So always trying to be grateful for whatever happens into your life, and yeah, and continue, and always thinking, what can I do today to make the world better?
beautiful, beautiful.
That's
What a lovely conversation we've had.
it. Thank you very
What
much,
a
Erin.
pure spirit you are.
It's very easy to say it, but now in practice, it's difficult. I have to say that. It's
Practice
true.
makes
Yeah.
perfect though. So I understand you've collaborated with some other people on a book. Do you want to just tell us about that?
Oh, yes, yes, yes. Thank you, Erin. Yeah, the book is called 100 Top Tips, and it's ideas for English teachers for the Irish ELT sector. And it's from New Way Press Publishing. And yeah, I collaborated, and I wrote a few sections, and they were mainly on mindfulness. So yeah, I don't think it's out yet. It will be out very soon. So yeah, just going to New Way Press Publishing, you can get the book over there, and there's loads of different teachers here who are working in Ireland that wrote and collaborated on just talking about some activities that they do in class in different sections. Yes.
Brilliant. And
Yes. Very,
would teachers who are not teaching in Ireland find this book useful as well?
yeah, they would as well. It's just that it's from the Irish ELT sector. That's
Okay.
it.
Well, I just want to thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me. And I think that everybody can take something away from this conversation and hopefully leave with a little smile on their face.
Oh, well, thank you very much, Erin. It was lovely, lovely being here. Thanks, Emil, for reaching out and for asking me to come here. I'm very grateful for that. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
It's my absolute pleasure.